Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's daily brief recap. So, got about maybe 10, 15 minutes. We'll try our best. You know, Brian, he loves the sound of his own voice. So, here we go. Let's have some fun. Clearly, I think the most important macro event today is the Chinese currency. The powers at B have broken it through some important key levels. Here is the low from basically back in 2016. That was a key pivot low. You can see how the market came down and played with that level. You can see how intraday we actually went through that level. That was probably a little bit of a tell that, hey, you know what, this floor isn't nearly as strong as you think it is. A little bit of a dead cat bounce coming out of there, and probably wouldn't be a big shock if this was like a 38.2 retracement. So we'll throw up our little reload zone levels, and sure enough, there is 38.2. So really good example of Ray Burchett. We have to wait for 38.2 to be resolved. You know, if you were a bull, you'd like to see a nice breakout above. Woohoo, away we go. But as in this particular case, great example of the market rallying up to 38.2, crapping out, and now breaking the new lows. Clearly, the bear is in full control here. Probably also, too, if we think about things like AB equals CDs with the break to new lows, I think we can make a realistic argument that the powers that be in China probably going to take this yuan down into sort of this low 13 area here, 0.1328 versus USD. So big fail. This is probably going to be a big macro driver going forward. And as we talked about at length recently, US dollar still trending up. In fact, I have on here all of the trending signals. There is the US dollar. Moving averages are still green. We don't really have any signs of failure here. And if we look at things like Europe, new lows, British pound, of course, moved the beautiful bought short setup off the 25 level. We just hit move stop to trailing. So anybody who took that British pound bought, you're laughing right now. Trend is still very much down. Interesting to see the oil commodity proxies, Canadian dollar and Russian ruble, still hanging in there. But the metal commodity currencies, Australian dollar, South African rand, making new lows this week. And this is a bit perplexing for me out of the gold space. I can't quite figure this out. Now, to maybe explain what's going on here, that's why I have on here today that recap about the Chinese yuan. Because what I think I'm seeing, and we had a sort of abbreviated version of the baby powder report. And Julian, of course, being in Thailand, he watches the Thai baht very closely. You can see how the Thai baht is now broken out to new highs. I don't know whether it's necessarily Thai baht specific, but, you know, we can start doing things like bullish AB equals CDs. And you can see the Thai baht actually wants to go quite a bit higher here. And what's really cool, we did this in the daily brief, is this level right here happens to be the 25 level for that bullish bot entry right off that double bottom. So really cool to see. But what I think is going on here, and of course this is just my opinion, we won't know until after the fact. But what I think is going on here is we're getting literally a flight to safety. People are abandoning the Chinese yuan in droves. I think they're really scared. I don't know whether you've been watching what's going on the ground in Hong Kong, but that situation is not resolving itself. And now the Chinese government has actually brought in a strong arm guy who was head of the police force in the last protests, and he came down really hard on the protesters last go round, and he squashed any sort of rebellion kind of thinking. So I'm wondering if, the temperature in Hong Kong is still very, very hot. The econs coming out of China, of course, are relatively weak. You can see that the Chinese currency itself is breaking down. They are trying to do the devaluation method to try and boost internal demand. Of course, this isn't going to make Mr. Trump happy at all. But we can see it in the price action, whether it be a tertiary Asian currency like the baht, or, and this is what I think is going on with regard to gold, the Japanese yen is getting a massive flight to safety bid and it's being bid up. And so what I have on this chart, I always like to talk about gold. I don't have gold on here today, but gold and yen. And we can also see I have overlaid here the bonds. And of course, the bonds have been screaming higher. And maybe tomorrow we'll look at yield curve because we're getting awfully close to inversion there, which is sort of the final piece of the puzzle that we need to see for us to actually start anticipating the coming recession. But we're getting like massive flight into U.S. Treasuries, flight into Japanese yen, flight even into things like the baht. Everybody is getting the heck out of China. And I think this is a really important message for the market. And it's probably going to be a key driver for a little while going forward. Moving on to stocks, interesting price action. I do remember yesterday I even suggested that this is a weekly chart. Look at this crazy hammer that's trying to be formed here. But I do remember in the daily recap video yesterday, I talked a little bit about us coming back against these key lows. And if we drill down to things like even the daily chart, and we do cheeky little things like reload zones, it really shouldn't shock us that we come down into these levels and gee whiz, the market actually catches a bid. What's really cool is we actually, and I can't really justify taking the trade because the size of the formation is so big, but we did have algo signals fire this morning. And you can see algo went uber bull on this candle here. You can see the W. And that's sort of like this kind of conversation. You can see the W really well laid out here. And we're enjoying a nice counter trend rally. So I don't necessarily, frankly speaking, I can't take a trade this big. It's just way too much risk. But, if the algo itself is indeed correct, then 2-to-1 off of that algo signal actually is projecting new highs. I don't know whether we're going to get up there. Nobody ever knows for certain. I don't really like trading these kind of formations that are so huge like this. If we do get a pullback, me, Brian, I absolutely love candle body levels for trade locations. So if I did want to try and sneak into the stock market, and probably if we do like reload zones, yeah, gee whiz, that just so happens to be Mountain Man. There is that reload zone. If you wanted to try and sneak in on stocks, I'd be hunting down here. But just, I think we should just acknowledge the fact that the algo did fire a signal and there is this really, really wide double bottom working. So we'll see how that goes. It's really cool. And actually, this is the signal that I really like. And on the NASDAQ, you see it really well. Like this is, if I was going to label like a trader's trade, I absolutely love when we coil nicely up top here. You can see the well-defined M's. Then all of a sudden, algo goes uber bear. We get our M to frame risk against, and boom. And I think you could even make the argument 2-to-1. You want to take partial profits here, move stop to scratch on remaining. And I might even make the argument that you could even have justified staying in this short, trailing your stops, this counter trend rally. Probably not a bad place to move stops. And that would have been like 3-to-1. So average would have given you a nice 3-to-1 risk reward. Beautiful. That's the kind of stuff I want to hunt. And I love those trade ideas. Oh, algo, I could kiss you. Mwah, 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 mwah. So stock markets look like they're pointing up. I think this is a bit of a reactionary rally, counter trend rally. I don't know whether we can hit these crazy ass 2-to-1s, but we'll keep an eye on it. And like I said before, this isn't a trade that I could really take. Just too big a risk. All right, so moving on. Where was our little? Here we are. I think this was it. Yeah, there we go. Just finish off today's broadcast, talk a little bit of Bitcoin. We did some range review in the video, the daily brief today. And of course, we talked about this at length. You can see how this was basically a mountain man level. So there's the top end of your range. And then if we do a fib off of this high back against these lows, there is Mr. Burchett, 38.2. So I hate to say it, guys, but I really still believe firmly that the market right now is still caught in this trading range. Nothing has changed here. And ultimately, the resolution of this range is going to dictate our path going forward. Very simply put, if we start doing like line charts, hopefully you can see, and we're at actually a really important level. Keep in mind, this is a weekly chart, so who knows how this week's going to finish. But if we go and M out here, well, and fail through that 38.2, then you know the bull is done. It's over. But we're not there now, right? So we don't necessarily need to be talking like that just yet. I think on balance, let's just see some back and forth. Ideally, if we are a bull, what we'd really like to see is a nice W. 3 higher lows would be even better to set up a bullish bot. And this is what we talked about in the daily brief today. If I am a bull and I want to get long, I have to see a little bit more development. And we even talked about this at length in the daily brief. The algo signal fired a fantastic signal. Then on, sell part of the position at 2-to-1. Just get yourself in a good solid position, stop to scratch. You can start trailing stops. We came back against these lows. We had a rip-roaring rally up top. And then I think the rest of that algo position would stop out on that move right there. So our conclusion out of the daily brief today was we're in a trading range even off of these lower time frames, which is about couple $100. And if I think I put a tweet out to that effect right here. You can see that we have this mountain man level that sort of stopped the bull. And we have Brian waiting for that bullish bot to try and fire to set up the next leg. If this bullish bot can fire, and it still needs a lot of work, I had postulated about whether we needed a third low to work with because the bot wants 3 lows. And you can see how actually it looks like this candle went all the way down here, didn't it? So you can actually make the argument now that this second low has been busted. Let's see whether this first low actually holds. It might not, right? We'll see how it goes. So long and short of it here, it looks like the bears are driving the bus right now. The bulls, good old Brian, sitting at his bot level, 12.3. And if we can break this trend line, except above bot levels, that will paint a target way up top for about 15,000. But that's still quite a ways away, and we need to let this develop. All right, I think I've gone way over time, so I think I'm going to leave it at that for today. We are keeping an eye on things like Litecoin and Ethereum and stuff on the site, but I just don't see a heck of a lot going on in Ethereum right now. So it's not like we're missing it, some sort of huge move here, not talking about it. So I think I'll leave it at that for today. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.